The Grand Tartarian Empire. An empire, we are told, doesn't exist. Despite all the maps, imagery, literature, and so much more, telling us exactly opposite. But in particular, I'd like to focus on one region of the Tartarian Empire by the Caspian Sea, and in particularly a star fort there that the narrative behind it being very limited as what it is, and yet we are just supposed to go along with that narrative. But let's explore this New-Aleksandrovsky, hope I'm pronouncing that right, star fort. And as you can see right here, it's just an amazing scene. It looks like this whole area was just melted or flooded, bringing half of the top of the star fort down with it. As you can see, some of these buildings or debris here getting long past. But let's dig into this a little bit further and see what they tell us about it. Here's some of the pictures that we do have of them, and just looking like it was absolutely decimated, completely leveled. The scenery around it too, very beautiful. And this would be the cliff area right in the front, where it just looks like it fell right off of here. See a bunch of fascinating rock piles right here, some brickwork, looking very old and dated. There's some more bricks, and just looking like piles of rubble. Right here you got, looks like maybe part of the star fort top. This whole countryside. So what we do have here, I don't speak Russian unfortunately, but it's 1834 to 1846, which seems to be the date of relevance here. You can see some of the debris right below the sign. Star fort electrical scarring. I would definitely think that when you look back at the map here. It just looks like this whole area. You can see the veins, very much like an electrical plasma type discharge. Looking like the star fort is very much a victim of the last reset, or one of thereof. Looks like this just whole column right here of earth fell, or was melted and destroyed in an instant. But this region all around the star fort's just really amazing. These veins, and this little installation right here, KKM, New-Aleksandrovsky Fort Check Cashing Service. Oh, so I got a great place to cash your check, right next to the strange star fort. Do wonder what one of these focal points where all these lines or roads seem to go to. Doesn't quite seem like an airport. Almost looks like circuitry or kind of constellation pattern. Very oddly close to the star fort, but this whole region just looks very pocketed with a bunch of these little circular gleams almost. I've just never really seen this anywhere else on the maps, just all around this region. And of course this, just very odd. When you kind of zoom out even closer, it's clearly blurred out. And of course, very little street view. You can see that check cashing place. Well, I don't know if I would be cashing my check here. Just in the middle of nowhere. Seemingly. In the middle of a desert. All once marked as part of the Tartarian Empire. But let's find out a little bit of information about this fort, if we can. What we are able to. This whole region, you see all these circles very clearly here. All around here. Fort Shevchenko or New-Aleksandrovsky. Pulled up a little bit of it here on Google already. And what we have, a Wikipedia article. Military base town. See much town there. Say it was founded as a military stronghold by the Imperial Russian Navy until 1857. 1857 and 1839 as Fort Aleksandrovsky. Saying nothing of how it was completely decimated. Apparently. Here's some more pictures of this stunning fort. It just looks absolutely decimated. With so far no description, it seems like. Amazing. I'm trying to find really anything about this fort. Say it's located on a western cliff. The ruins of, yes, definitely is. The fortress was built, and I really like this part, according to Kozin, in an extremely inconvenient place. There was no land, no forest, no fresh water, only one sand caused by the sea. 30 miles of the current fort. Amazing pictures. But I, implore you to pause to read this. Just really giving no explanation for why a fort of this magnitude was built in the middle of such a desolate place in the middle of nowhere by horse and buggy. And what appears to be the early 1800s, they say, which, looking at some of these few pictures we can see, none of the actual fort or its completion. But we are led to believe that the Russians just built this fort here, in the middle of nowhere, and it just seemingly got destroyed, and very few pictures, none of the actual completion. rivets. It's looking like whatever happened to it decimated it to its very foundation. And just look at the landscape from here. From this picture to this part of it here. In this picture right there, you just see the difference. Completely different. What could have caused that? Very buried and mud flooded. And you can just almost see the charring on the top of this rubble. But that's all the photos we have of the actual fort, ruins of the fort. And that's about it. It's so far away from any strategic places in the 1800s. This is the Caspian Sea area. Not even close to the sea. And this whole area they just don't really want you to see much of, it looks like. But this is just one fort of many that we are led to believe and led to be told that it's just made by a primitive people. It looks like somebody's working on this area here very extensively. And another star fort in another area of nowhere with very little explanation. And there's just so many examples of these star forts having way more than just a medieval type defensive design. And they can be found all over this realm, including such monuments as the Statue of Liberty being built right on top of one. I think just looking at a few of these images and the perfection geometrically that they show from the skies by people that they didn't have air travel, so they say. That purpose is clearly much more than just a good defensive fortification. But we are told that there was no Tartaria, at least not in the sense that we've seen. It was just a placeholder used by European cartographers. And you know how outlandish that story is. But that is what the narrative is. No, this isn't a European city. This is Shanghai, China, in the 1800s. And looking very Tartarian. And I believe that's where I'll leave it here today, people. I have the Star Fort beneath Lady Liberty. And the area around her just looking completely unlike you would expect for a newly constructed monument to the newly constructed free world. It just looks like a place in ruins. We came in on the scene, the inheritors, and took over. After the fall of Tartaria and the last mud flood. I appreciate you supporting my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys would like to see on next week's video. And if you haven't checked out my other pages, check out the link in my bio here. I hope to be continually expanding my search for evidence, and not just of Tartaria and the Mud Flood, but so much more of our hidden past. Continuing to question everything, and continuing to learn with you all. And I hope you have a wonderful week, and till next time, friends, question everything.